Alright, so if you have a 1990s era Williams pinball machine and it dies when you hit the flippers, stick around for this video and I'll tell you exactly what's going on. So what I'm about to explain here pertains not only to the Whitewater pinball machine that we have here, but almost all of the Williams machines that were built in the early 90s. The transformation had been complete from the old electromechanical days where it was relays and stack switches to something that's microprocessor based, and your pop bumpers and flippers and what have you are run off of DC, which gives them a lot more kick. As the machine ages, though, some things change about it. Obviously, these machines didn't do them when they were new, but now that they're getting to be 30 years old, some of the components have changed a little bit, and that's the crux of our problem.
So the bee had always wanted to get herself a pinball machine, and she found one. Well, the remains of one that were in the hallway of an old rec center, and she got them for free and brought them back. And since our honeybees are all bundled up in their hive, she turned the machine over to me, or the parts of it, to put back together, because she knew I spent about a decade of my life servicing arcade machines. Well, she was right. I don't mind doing these type of things, and I was able to reassemble it and find all the necessary parts to get it going. I ran across one little problem that was an aha I knew about from previous servicing. But this problem is quirky enough that I figured we'd explore it in a video. I saw on Google that a lot of people really went down the rabbit hole on this one, and it cost them a lot of money, when in actuality the fix is very simple. You hit the flippers and the machine dies. Why? Well, that's what we're going to explore. There are three little LEDs on the CPU board. One tells you have power on the bottom. The one in the middle is called the heartbeat. It shows data is flowing. The top one, diagnostics, and that's what comes on when you hit the flipper button. It quickly restores itself, so what we're really dealing with here is a reboot issue. The machine goes into reboot when you hit the flippers. There's a tiny little processor shown in the manual called U10, which is a reset processor, and when that sees a voltage disturbance, it resets the main microprocessor. U10 was being flipped on for some reason. So speaking of flipping, the big power draw in a pinball machine is the flipper solenoid. The flipper solenoid actually has two windings on it, a very high power winding that causes the solenoid to yank in, and then a smaller winding used to hold the coil in if someone keeps their finger on the button. You don't want the thing catching fire. Three flippers together produce an amazing current demand on the machine. So if you're firing the flippers, and this machine uses three of them, you're producing an instantaneous demand that's higher than even the beefy transformer that's in the machine can handle. The output of the transformer gets rectified into DC power and stored in devices called electrolytic capacitors. These capacitors over the years fade in value. They become smaller and smaller electrically, and that's the problem. There's no longer the ability for the machine to handle that impulse of power demand. There's 6 of them on the power board, and they're the circular items above. And if you have such a machine, you want to replace all 6 of them. When you hit the flippers, that instantaneous power demand is causing the voltage bus to the microprocessor to drop real fast, and causes the reset processor to tell the microprocessor the machine was just powered up. Change all 6 and enjoy your pinball experience. I want to throw one last footnote on this, and that is if when you order the capacitors, make sure you go through a pinball machine distributor or a pinball machine's part supplier. You want to get a very close match to that original capacitor, because even if you get something of the right value, it may not physically fit on the board. So use the numbers that I listed before when you order the parts, and if it's a higher voltage, that's fine.
I love to get Bigfoot going. Yeah, there we go.